guys, how you going? Hope you're all doing very well. This afternoon I'm going to be doing another movie review. This movie is a horror film from Latvia. This is spoken in the Russian language with English subtitles, released in the year 2021, directed by Artis Latkovskis, and this film is called The Land of the Blue Lakes. So Land of the Blue Lakes is about a group of friends who are going camping in the Blue Lakes area. It's a series of lakes that are connected with islands, beautiful part of the world, and these friends are kayaking through these waters during the day and camping at night. Now, one of the friends tells a story of the history behind this area of the world that dates back to the Pagan rituals where they used to sacrifice people, but the group of friends believe that these are just campfire stories to kind of put them off what they're doing. But then as each day approaches, they're going to realise that maybe there is a lot more truth behind these campfire stories than they gave it credit for. So whether or not that's the case is something you're going to have to find out for yourself, because that's as far as I'm going with my synopsis. Now my thoughts on The Land of the Blue Lakes. I was very interested to actually check this movie out. Now, this is labelled as Latvia's first found footage horror film. That came with skepticism, but it also came with a lot of curiosity, because I've only ever seen one other Latvian movie, which is also a horror film called The Man in the Orange Jacket. If you haven't seen my review of that, please check it out. That was a very effective low-budget horror film, but the reason why I was a little bit sceptical and worried coming into this movie is that it was a found footage horror film. Now, found footage horror is an oversaturated subgenre. Ever since the Blair Witch Project, it was a clear example of not needing a lot of money to make a very creepy and effective horror film, but unfortunately a lot of these low budget filmmakers are just churning out the same generic stuff, and that's why a lot of people are very tired of this subgenre. And that was the reason why I come into this movie very skeptical, is because it is a very micro budget, and were they just going to copy the Blair Witch? I thought as though the synopsis indicated that it was going to be like the Blair Witch, so I had my fingers crossed that it'd be something else. So I really like the idea of coming into a cinema world of, an area that I'm not familiar with, and so Latvia is definitely that. So what did I get from The Land of the Blue Lakes? What I got was a very interesting look into a micro-budget movie, but unfortunately I had a lot more issues than it had positives. And unfortunately, you give a movie a lot of leeway based on the fact that it is a micro-budget horror film, but I thought as though this movie could have been a lot better than it was, because the movie does show signs of very intelligent filmmaking. This is a movie that is very self-aware, it is very ultra low budget, so what it goes for is ultra realism. This is a movie that could be off a YouTube travel vlog. I thought as though the use of the camera, it looked very cheap, but it looked very real, and so this is everything that found footage horror is. If you can make it look as authentic as possible, it can make it a lot more scarier, and so I thought as though the camera use of this film was very good because it showed you the sheer beauty of the environment. The setting of this movie is by far the best part of the film, in that the first 3/4 you're marveling at all the sheer beauty and how big these lakes were and how insignificant these people were. So a lot of movies, they actually go down this territory where the environment can be as scary as the overall happenings. And so I thought that was really well done, is that these friends, I thought the acting was very authentic, very, very realistic, and it actually felt like the banter in the script was ad-libbed. And so if it was ad-lib, it creates that sense that you're in these kayaks with them and you're experiencing what they're going through. And I thought the folklore behind these islands was very fascinating. Paganism. Pagans are used a lot in horror films, and it can be very creepy when used very well, and so I thought there was a recipe for success in this movie that I thought should have been a lot better than it was, but unfortunately the movie only kicks into gear in the last quarter. So you've got a beautiful setting, but unfortunately for a movie that goes for an hour and 10 minutes, there's only so much of a setting that you can look at before you realise something else is missing, and what's missing is the anticipation to that sense of horror at the end of the film. The end of the movie hits you out of nowhere as far as horrifying elements are concerned, but because it hit you out of nowhere, I felt as though it was disjointed. There was no slow wick that was burning up to the stick of dynamite to explode. I just thought it was as though it was going around and around in circles. They weren't really feeling creeped out. You don't feel creeped out as a viewer. And I just thought as though because the horror aspect hit you all of a sudden, it didn't feel like a genuine horror film. It felt like a travel blog mixed in with a little bit of horror at the end, whereas I thought as though there could have been a bit of a sense of anticipation that something horrible was going to happen. So I never felt that sense of anticipation. So after a while, I become very, very tired of what was going on. So it's a very, very tedious experience. It's way too long for its own good. And I thought it would have been a lot better if they threw in a few more creepy things along the way to kind of elevate that sense that something is not right. But you never get that sense until the very end. And so because of that, I felt as though it was disjointed. I felt as though it was a very short film as far as horror is concerned, whereas the rest of it was just people going around and around in these lakes. And after a while I thought to myself, well, okay, it's ultra realistic, it's very self-aware in the limitations that it has, but as far as the story is concerned, it just needed a little bit more. There's only so much you can take of people going around having banter with each other, going around in these kayaks, before you start to realize, okay, I want more. I don't want to see just a travel vlog on YouTube. Yes, I understand that it wants to be realistic, but as far as a movie is concerned, you need that elevation of something that actually sustains your interest from the start to the finish. But unfortunately, it does get your interest at the start, but it just doesn't really seem to go anywhere. And right at the end, I thought, all right, well, there's something that happens in the end that was very theatrical, which defeated the purpose of that ultra realism that the first 3/4 wants. And so the movie is self-aware as far as its limitations are concerned. It doesn't try anything too extravagant to really show how low budget this movie is, but unfortunately, as far as storytelling is concerned, it needed to be a lot better, and it could have been a lot better. And if it actually had that elevation and anticipation of something horrible happening, it could have been a very effective horror film. But pushing that aside, as far as micro-budget cinema is concerned, it's a good effort, but unfortunately, as far as storytelling is concerned, it needed to be a bit stronger to execute all the positives that the movie had. So as far as micro-budget movies are concerned, if you're an aspiring filmmaker, then I would recommend this movie, because it is an indication that you can create a movie without a mega budget. But if you're an avid sort of moviegoer and you're a found footage horror fan, there is a lot to like about the movie, but unfortunately the execution of that likability was non-existent. And so that's ultimately the issue with The Land of the Blue Lakes. But it was a lot better than I thought it would be. At least it had that level of interest, but it just couldn't quite capitalise upon it. So overall, for The Land of the Blue Lakes, going to give this one 2 stars. It was better than I thought it was, but unfortunately I couldn't help but feel a little bit disappointed. Alright guys, that's it for my review. Hope you enjoyed it. Till next time, keep watching movies, and I'll see you later.